Welcome to this edition of Online TV. I'm your host, Mr. Jeff Mann. I'm a senior consultant here at Online Business Systems. Online Business Systems is a digital transformation and cybersecurity consultancy. Since 1986, we've been using technology to deliver dramatic business results for companies throughout North America. I am joined today by one of my colleagues within the risk, security, and privacy practice, Mr. Greg High. Greg, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Greg is a principal consultant with us, so he technically outranks me, but I think what it really means is he just has to generate revenue, and I'm okay with that. But we wanted to talk a little bit today about PCI and the PCI assessment process, and in particular, this notion of what's come to be known as scoping. You are very passionate about scoping and like to bring it up and talk about it within our practice. So I thought it would be great to have you online today, and over a course of a couple sessions, let's try to do a deep dive and understand what scoping is and how it applies to PCI. Fair enough?
Excellent. That sounds great. Thanks, Jeff.
I thought it would be appropriate. I always like to approach things with context. And I think context, the appropriate way to approach the context of scoping for PCI here is to sort of take a really, really quick tour of the history and the evolution of scoping as it's come about during the course of the history of the PCI data security standard, which is going on 16 years now. It was first released in, I believe it was December of 2004. What's your take on how scoping came about over the course of the years of PCI and the evolution of PCI, Greg?
I think a lot of it, Jeff, has to do with the infrastructures and how the infrastructures have actually developed, coming around from mainframe-based flat files with indices to relational databases to layer 3 networks. Everybody, the Cisco gear and the CCNA and CCIE years, and all of a sudden, all of these things began to flow one into another that would impact actually payment card data as it flowed across each of those components. And so that's where my passion for scope came, was how can we throw a lasso around the smallest possible area of scope that will validate that cardholder data is protected.
I got you. So very much your perspective is sort of from a technology perspective in the evolution of networking and the evolutionary of where card data might be present and how it's stored and how it's processed in a network.
That's correct. The version 2 of the standard talked a lot about data and data discovery. And there were a lot of tools that came out. There was freeware tools like Spider from Carnegie Mellon Institute that you could go out and do regex looking for 16-digit numbers. Most of those initiatives failed terribly just because of the technology wasn't up to it at the time. And now that we have moved past that and we have more robust data discovery tools, those can still be used to validate scope, but at the same time there are still technical limitations about the dynamics of the data changing, locations, cloud storage, all of those types of things. Trying to find those little pools of cardholder data is becoming more difficult.
Interesting. Yeah, there's certainly been an evolution of the technologies in the last 16 years. That sounds great. So a very brief history from the data's out there in flat networks to no, we need to find the data, coming with version 2 to the data's in a lot of different places these days. It's a good thing we have better tools. That's going to wrap us for this section. Stay tuned to upcoming segments where we continue this discussion of scoping and PCI. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.